Oh, hi everyone. Leia Shilobod here, CEO and IT Princess of Power of InTech Solutions. And I'm here today with my special guest, Peter Verlezza. Say hi, Peter.
Hi, Peter. Managing partner of SMB Networks. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here with us today. Actually, Peter, before we get started, would you mind if I told everyone really quickly about why I invited you here today?
Please.
Okay, so as everyone knows, every year I do a cyber threat report for the community. So as I was approaching this time and doing my research for the 2017 cyber threat report, I was talking to you because we were in some industry organizations together, and I was talking to you. We had a great conversation about what happened last year in 2016 and what it's looking like for 2017. And you had some fantastic insights and some great points of view and also some interesting stories to share. So I wanted you to come today so that you can add some more value to my community here. So I wanted to thank you so much for participating today.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk. You know how I like to do that.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe not as much as I do. I'm giving you a run for your money. All right, so let's get started.
Do it.
All right, so let's tell everyone first what they're going to learn. Today we're going to go over with you some recent threats, some that are in the news that you heard about, and some that you actually don't know about. We're going to talk about the threat outlook for 2017, the impacts that those threats have on your business, what it actually means for you, and also how to protect yourself and your company from those cyber threats. So ultimately, what are we going to cover? We're going to talk to you about how you can avoid being a sitting duck to cyber criminals and protect everything that you've worked so hard to achieve in your business. And if you hang on to the end, I'm going to give you guys some freebies and some amazing discounts. So I'm going to tell you later how to get a really deep discount on a cybersecurity audit. And if you hang on to the end, I'll also tell you how you can get an absolutely free mobile device policy template that you can use in your business to help keep your company more secure. So for those of you that don't know me, let me tell you quickly about myself. I'm the CEO. I'm also known as the IT Princess of Power here at InTech Solutions. I founded InTech Solutions in 2006. I'm an active member of the FBI's InfoGuard team here in Pittsburgh and co-facilitate seminars with them on occasion. I also meet quarterly with information security professionals throughout the country to learn more about these threats. And about 18 months ago, I published my first book, The 3 Indispensable Rules Every Manufacturer Must Know Before Purchasing Any IT Product or Service. And Peter, why don't you introduce yourself to the people so they know who you are?
Okay. I'm a managing partner of SMB Networks. We're a technology services company in North Haven, Connecticut. I am also a member of the Connecticut chapter of InfoGuard, the FBI's security group. I'm a best-selling author, a speaker. I affectionately refer to myself as a technologist. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And I've read your books. They're really good.
Thank you.
I actually have copies of both the Essential Guide to All Things Digital as well as the Tech Multiplier.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. So I like to start out this presentation with this reminder. Andrew Grove, the former CEO of Intel, said, "Success breeds complacency, and complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive." Now, Andrew was talking about the success of Intel, but really, this applies to all facets of our lives and our businesses. Once we start to believe that we're secure and we're okay, and then we start to think that everything's not a problem, that is when we become complacent. And once we become complacent, that's when we're going to become exploited. Now, in preparation for this, I pulled some more information out for global risks reports from 2016 from a lot of different organizations. And I put all these statistics right here. Now, the thing that really got me as I was researching this yet again for my 2017 report was that, again, I'm seeing all of the reports saying 2016 was the worst year ever for cybercrime, for malware, for viruses, for the amount of money that was stolen. Now, that's the same thing that I heard when I did my 2016 report. And that was the same thing that I heard when I did my 2015 report. And that in itself is a frightening statistic. The cost of data breaches is going up. You know, for small to medium-sized businesses, we're talking about companies that are less than 1,000 employees. A data breach involving the theft of assets was actually just under $900,000 worth of damages and money stolen. They also found that about 60% of employees use the exact same passwords for everything that they access. Meanwhile, 63% of confirmed data breaches shows that a weak default or stolen password is what was used for that breach. And Peter is going to help us to talk about that a little later because that is a huge problem right now and causing a lot of companies to become exploited. 62% of organizations use managed security services for at least part of their cybercrime defenses. Only 62%, which leaves a plethora of companies out there that are wide open for these kind of threats and attacks. And a McAfee Intel study reported that cybercrime globally is estimated to be $500 billion of an enterprise. That rivals drug trafficking, gambling, and prostitution combined. If you were a crook and you had to get into, what's your gig going to be? Where's the most lucrative place? Cybercrime. So let's quickly talk about the where cybercrime came from, its sophistication, its proliferation, and its scope. Cybercrime originated from the good old day criminals. When you had to get on a horse, ride alongside a fast-moving train, risk life and limb to throw yourself on board, and then stick 'em up, guys, give me all your valuables. Over time, crime has evolved immensely to today, where you can sit behind a computer and with a few clicks of your keyboard and a few clicks of your mouse, you're able to steal from literally tens of thousands of people. Now I have a number down here, 160. Peter, what do you think 160 is?
The weight that I wish I was at.
Okay.
My IQ.
Good answer. Your IQ. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's why I invited you here to the call today. 160 is actually the number of average number of successful cyber attacks per company every week in 2016. So that means crazy. Of the tens of thousands of attacks that we have throughout the year, tens of thousands, probably millions actually, if you think about it, 160 every single week are successful. And, where does this all come from? What's it all about? I'm confused. So the best place, I think, to start is the digital underground. And Peter, you have some interesting insights into what we mean by digital underground.
Yeah, this is something that most people just don't know about. You don't know what you don't know. So the internet has two sides. It has the dark side. It has the light side, if you would. And the digital underground, or the dark underbelly of the internet, is where all the bad stuff happens, and there's lots of it. There's you can buy and get anything that you want in this place. And by the way, you don't just open up a browser and Google Chrome or Internet Explorer and go type in hire a hacker or purchase illegal guns. That will get you in trouble immediately. That's monitored and trackable and traceable. No, you go to the digital underground. There's special browsers. There's special ways to get in. There's total anonymity in there, and there's bad things going on. And this is where all the crime the cyber crime comes from, starts at, and this is the playing field. And it's like the Wild West.
Is that like what we hear when we hear about the term the dark net? Is that what they're talking about?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And
Okay.
when I say you can literally get anything, quick example, you could go to the dark net. You could find someone who will hack a person's Facebook account. $400, you pay them $200 up front. They will hack a Facebook account. They will send you proof. You send them the other $200. They send you credentials, and now you have that person's Facebook account. You have access to their Facebook account. It literally is that simple.
So you don't, like today, to be a cyber criminal, you don't even have to be technical. You just have to be able to find somebody who will do it for you.
Correct. You could get into the crimeware as a service business. You could subscribe to someone else's malware that you would send out to email addresses for the purposes of infecting computers and getting whatever kind of data it is that you want to be getting from those people. It's the Wild West is a good way to quantify this dark place.
But we also have scary things right down the street, like in that picture on there that you see the ATM, and then you sort of see what looks like it was a piece taken off of the ATM. That was an overlay on the ATM. So criminals will use that to put over top of keypads, and then also the little slidey thing where you put your ATM card in there. They have pieces that will go over that as well that will read your ATM cards, and they'll read your PIN numbers. And actually, I mean, I'm so paranoid about this. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit paranoid about this, knowing it. And when I go to an ATM, I check every single time because this kind of stuff freaks me out.
It's true, as it should. With the privilege of data and connectivity comes the responsibility of protecting yourself, and that's what we're talking about today.
Yep. Exactly. So some people might think that we're fear mongers, right? That we're just saying, oh my gosh, the dark net's so scary, and oh, you have to check the ATM machine. But they say, well, if it's so widespread, why aren't we hearing about it in the news? Why is it just, you guys talking about it? And you and I know it's not. There's a lot of evangelists in our industry that regularly talk about this kind of vigilance that you have to have. But, when we're talking about mainstream media, we're only hearing about the big stuff. We're hearing about Apple, Target, Home Depot, Walmart. We're talking about the big hacks for two reasons. First, because they can't hide it because they're so big and they're public companies. And secondly, because, heck, that makes good news. Somebody going down to your ATM down the street and having their $1,000 wiped out of their bank account is not what we call big news. So the mainstream media is just not covering it. Now, I don't know about you, Peter, but sometimes when I'm talking to some business owners, luckily not my clients are awesome and my clients are very vigilant about their security. However, some people that I talk to, they're like, I don't have to worry about security on my computers. There's nothing a hacker wants on my PC. There's nothing sensitive in my network. What do you have to say to that, Peter? What is your perspective on that?
Well, the interesting part of what it is that you just said is sometimes it's not on. It isn't about you. It isn't about the person. There's not some individual somewhere that said, I'm going to go after the network of that small CPA firm. No, they've found you because this is a business. Once they determine what your vulnerabilities are, that will determine for them how they will use your computer or data or network. So in the case of someone who is selling stolen credit cards, the stolen credit card numbers might live on your website server because you didn't have the securities in place or the correct passwords or secure enough passwords to protect it. So it might not be your sensitive information that is being taken out of your network. It might be your network being used as one of the repositories for information. There are so many facets to this business. Again, $500 billion. That's a lot of money.
And Peter, that happened to one of my clients twice, with her credit card, her business credit card, being compromised in that way from a website hack two times, and that that happened in the last 4 months. 2 times in the last 4 months. Yeah. So, and luckily, her bank was vigilant and was able to catch it, and then they could get the money credited back, which is good. But it was a hassle, huge hassle.
Again, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom, but you do have to be aware and mindful of these things. I mean, you have a responsibility.
So for companies that try to tell me, and people who try to tell me that it's not going to happen to them, I like to refer them to a friend of ours who works with an FBI agent in New York City. This is George's saying. There are only 2 kinds of people: the people who are about to be hacked and the people who will be hacked again. It's that simple, guys. You've either already been hacked and you don't know it, or you've been hacked, you've cleaned it up, you think you're safe, and it's a waiting game about when it's going to happen again.
Yeah, and we have a saying that it's not a question of if, it's a question of when there will be some sort of breach or crime committed.
Yes, absolutely. So this danger is real and present. When I was working last year with our FBI agent here, who's in charge of cyber crimes in our community in Pittsburgh, she was telling me that the stats are that last year the FBI notified 3,000 U.S. companies ranging from small banks, major defense contractors, the whole gamut of industries and size of businesses, that they had been victims of cyber intrusions. These are actually malicious actors that the FBI had been tracking and tracked them into networks, and then had to drive up in their suits and say, hey, I wanted to let you know you have a hacker inside your network. We've been tracking them. It's 3,000 companies in 1 year. Now, that's just the ones the FBI knew about. That's not all of the ones that nobody knows that they're in there, or the company found it and then they cleaned the threat off of their systems. That's probably how many, if you had to guess, Peter, what would you say as far as the number of companies that are getting hacked every single year?
Tens of thousands, and many of them are going unnoticed. The interesting part of this is that these are larger companies that the FBI is talking about, and the majority of these people, if not all, didn't know.
Yeah.
That's the big problem.
Yeah.
They don't know.
So when somebody says to me, I'm too small, I say, you think you're too small? 1 in 5 small businesses fall victim to cybercrime every year, and that number is growing. Small businesses are low-hanging fruit, because unlike those huge corporations that we saw had huge losses from hackers, small businesses don't have the same kind of security protections in place, and some of them, like in the last slide, have their ears closed and saying it's not going to happen to me. So it's really easy to get into their networks. Not only is it, like you said, Peter, that there's stuff in there that they really don't think is important that hackers would love to get their hands on, but one of the things that's really important is that company's relationship with other companies. A great, for instance, the Target hack, right? They didn't, the hackers did not go straight into Target and hack through Target's firewalls, right? Right. They leveraged one of Target's vendors. Was it an HVAC company? Is that what an HVAC company that came in?
It was, yes.
So they were interfacing with the network of Target, and they were a small business, so it was really easy to hack into them. They hacked into them because they wanted to get into Target. So it's you have to think about what's downstream, and that everybody is a potential target because of the trust relationship that your business has with other businesses.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
So we talked about some of the stuff already, and you guys should know this. Like, they want your credit card information, they will hack your bank account, they will steal your identity, they'll steal your company information, they'll steal your employees' information that's on your network. They'll leverage your PCs, your server, and your internet connection to attack others. This I thought was really interesting, Peter. This is a Berkshire Hathaway report on the top 12 businesses that they see breaches in, because they are, they're a cyber insurance carrier, right? So they're looking and they're saying what industries are actually giving us claims because they were breached. And these are the top 12 industries that were breached in 2016, with education institutions, financial healthcare being at the top. And then obviously as you go down, things like insurance agencies, pharmacies, nonprofits, and law firms. So organizations that are going to have a wealth of information that hackers are interested in. This number kind of blew me away. Peter, has anyone ever told you in your 11 years of being in business, I don't understand how I got infected, I have antivirus on my computer?
You mean in the last hour or two?
Right.
Yeah. I have not been anywhere. I've not done anything. I didn't click on anything. I don't know how I could have gotten.
Correct. Right. I was just sitting there in front of the computer and it just got infected. So, but what people don't understand, and when we are so vigilant and say, you have to have this protection, you have to have this protection, you have to have this protection. And sometimes I think you look at me sideways like, why are you being so nuts about this? Well, this is one of the reasons. 1 million new malware threats are being released per day. 1 million per day. And that is so hard to protect against, which is why we are recommending those multiple layers of security on your network, which we're going to get to really soon here. This is a little public service announcement for everyone. This is a small piece on bank fraud. If you are in a business, you own a business, this is really important for you to know. The FDIC does not protect you from bank fraud, and the bank is not responsible for getting your money back. Now, some people don't understand what that means exactly, so let me talk to you a little bit about that. Okay, so if let's say that your credit card information that's attached to your bank account, that is compromised, and they go and they put your credit card, your bank card information on a whole bunch of websites and buy all kinds of stuff. The FDIC and your bank protects against that, and most likely, as long as you can prove that it wasn't you, you're most likely going to get that money back. However, if you were doing things like ACHs or wire transfers, there is no protection against that. Once the money is gone, it is gone. So this is a story about a manufacturer in Michigan, Experimental. She's a small business, right? So she's got less than 1,000 people working for her. She's on her computer, on her business bank account, doing transactions. As she's doing this, she's seeing these transactions posting to her account, these wire transfers, these ACHs, all this money flooding out of her account. She calls her bank. She frantically gets them to stop. By the end of the day, she's got $5.2 million gone from her bank account. The bank helps her to get most of it back, but still, she was liable at the end of the day for $500,000. And her bank's like, sorry, we did a really good job of helping you get most of it back. And then this quote I like to read because it really highlights the real, kind of hot water that we're all in here. It's frightening for small businesses because they have no clue about this. They just don't have any clue. And anyone expects their bank to protect them. Businesses are not equipped to deal with this problem, and banks are barely equipped. Yeah. I mean, Peter, have you ever, either been traveling or maybe you're purchasing a lot of equipment for your client and then you get a call from your bank and they say, oh, I just want to verify these transactions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the time. That's
You know,
one of the biggest differences.
yeah, and I'm thankful. I've heard
Yeah.
people like complain about it. Oh, it's my bank calling. I'm like, be thankful. Be thankful that they thought that, I want to protect you and I want to make sure this was actually you doing this, because if that
hmm
money's gone, what happens if it's gone and it's just gone and the bank's not going to help you?
That's exactly right.
So people say, how did it happen, right? Because they say, I didn't click on anything, I didn't go anywhere, I didn't do anything, but I got a virus. How did it happen? Well, this is a quick list. We don't have enough time to be able to go through each one of these and explain how you can get hacked, but here's some things to remember. Don't connect to open Wi-Fi unless you know the source. And if you're in the airport, I mean, don't connect to it. Just don't connect to the stuff that when you're in big public places, because people set up fake Wi-Fi. Don't do it. Social engineering, that's like, you got an email and it says, you sent this invoice to me, but I don't think it's correct. And you click on the invoice and then you realize, oh, this was not a customer of mine, and now my computer's infected. Phishing emails where they say, they're, they're, they try to get information from you about your network or a password or things like that. Don't go to shady websites. They can try to reroute your phone calls or get information from you over the phone, like the fake Microsoft people that just say, oh, I need you to install this on here. I need to get on your computer real quick and fix something. Microsoft does not do that. And you can even just land on a website and get infected just by actually just landing there, not clicking on anything. And what can be downloaded to your computer can steal information. It can log your keystrokes, including, oh, I noticed they're going to a bank account. Now I'm going to log the keystrokes to get their username and password. The fake antiviruses that you see, ransomware like CryptoLocker, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and malicious acts by current or former employees. That's actually something interesting that we were talking about that has been on the rise recently in the last few years that we didn't see as much of before. But as people, the workforce, the younger workforce, who's a lot more tech savvy and understands what kind of power digital information is and has, we've seen kind of an upsurge in this over the last few years. So there's two stories I was going to share. The first one was that we've been noticing that that there's a lot more employees who are younger who are stealing information from their employers. Whether they're going out the door and they're taking things like your proprietary information, your customer lists, your contracts, maybe to start their own business or to take it to the next company that they're working for. In fact, one of my customers has special controls over data loss prevention on their network, because they know that their people, they're in a very competitive industry, graphic design. They know that their people are taking customer lists out the door when they leave. They know that they can save information to a jump drive and just walk out the door. So they have special controls on their networks for that. The younger generation also has a much more clear understanding of what it is, where that information can really impact a company. And I've heard stories here in our area of people getting pissed off at their employer and deleting data, just deleting whole drives on a server, like just deleting everything that's there. Luckily, most of those companies had backups, but still, I mean, you're talking about downtime, stress, what just happened, and it can be a mess. What was it, Peter? Was it yesterday or was it 2 days ago that we were talking about that IT company that got jilted as an IT provider?
Yeah, just a couple of days ago it was. Right.
And what was that? What was that down in? That was down in Georgia, right?
In Georgia, yeah, Cummings, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Craziness.
Did you?
A lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
There, and you know,
Yeah,
a couple
so,
of points here are very well taken. You know, like with ransomware. I have a good friend who owns a small cigar shop that fell victim to a crypto wall-like virus, ransomware, and almost shut his business down. Now, he didn't have all the proper protections in place and did have to pay the ransom, and it was successful. Thank goodness for him, or his business would have been shut down. I had a similar situation, and I tried to pay the ransom because I wanted to go through the process, and it was not successful, although we were able to recover from it because we had the right protections in place.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I did want to just kind of impart on everyone the importance of that story, the IT provider down in Georgia. So, you know, and I obviously I run the risk of everybody leaving this entirely paranoid about you and me and about everyone who touches their network. But you know what? I do think that paranoia is healthy, and I enjoy it when people challenge us about what our internal security protections are, because that's huge for my business, and everyone should be thinking about this. So this IT provider in Georgia, they were the IT provider for a local the Cummings Chamber of Commerce, and they were in a contract with them. They canceled their contract with them early. So the chamber canceled their contract with the IT provider. The IT provider got angry that they decided to cancel their contract, and then wanted to hold them in their contract and tell them they had to pay the money for the services that they had, including some cloud-based services. So when the chamber said no, we aren't going to stay in this contract, the IT provider shut down their email service and shut off access to their data because it was all cloud-based. Now, you and I happen to have ethical and moral standards about things like that. That's just not how we do business, period.
Correct.
But the key thing here to think about is, you know, who is advising you? Who holds the keys to your proverbial kingdom, right? What kind of security measures do they put in place? What happens if you decide that you want to break up? You know, if you decide, I don't like this marriage anymore, I want a different vendor. What will happen? Obviously, in this vendor's case, it was, you know, pretty devastating. I'm pretty upfront with everyone that I work with, and I tell people, if you don't like me, let's not do business together. Because you know, I mean, really, what's this guy going to think? I mean, you know, so he just held your data for you know, hostage. You think that if they stay on for another 2 years of being clients, that's going to be like a happy relationship? You know, you got to wonder what people think sometimes.
This speaks to, again, the responsibility. Know your information, have all your passwords, have your network documentation. You have to be responsible, soup to nuts with this data and network and technology.
Absolutely. Okay. So this is another story. We can just briefly go over this one, but it's actually happened in Pittsburgh. A former employee of a Pittsburgh law firm, Volker and Grix. This woman got really angry because she was told to leave. So she and her husband contacted the hacker network, who everyone's heard of, Anonymous, before, and they helped them to hack into the firm's computers and steal some information. They were found out, and they were charged and pled guilty. And this law firm has since broken up since this hit. But you know, this is real and present. This was in the news and in Pittsburgh. So ransomware, we've mentioned this several times. For those of us that are on the call that have never heard of ransomware, ransomware is when a virus infects your computer and it encrypts all of your data. So all those files are on your computer. You try to click on it, it won't open because it's been encrypted and you're not able to open it at all. The dangerous things about this is that some of them are written to be able to look for your server and then will travel to your server and encrypt all the information that's there too. I love this. The writer once asked a literary agent, what kind of writing pays the most? Her answer was simple, ransom notes. Because when you tell me, I've got nothing that's interesting on my network, no hacker would want it, well, suddenly when you can't get to any of the information on your server, you can't open up your contracts, you can't open up any of your financial data, you can't give, information to your accountant so he can do your taxes, suddenly you're willing to pay just about anything to get that information back. Another real danger that we're seeing in 2017 is the increasing use of what we call shadow IT. That's a real, some kind of, it's an industry lingo term. But basically what that means is that you have employees and they're well-meaning and they're putting other tools on your computers, things like Dropbox or Box, or maybe an instant messenger, or, they're going to, they've got some kind of widgets or WeatherBug or other kinds of things they've installed on their computer because they feel like it's going to make them more efficient and more productive for you. Oh, I have to work on this spreadsheet at home. Not a problem. I'll just drop it into my personal Dropbox and I can access it from my home computer. So what ends up happening, though, is that when you have this information that your employees now have all over the place, accessible from anywhere, it's open to the world. 7 million Dropbox passwords were hacked in 2014, and every year we see, last year it was, shoot, Peter, what was it? I was in Connecticut visiting you when that happened. TeamViewer's
Right.
passwords got hacked. Yes. So so TeamViewer got hacked and they stole millions of passwords there. So and people use TeamViewer a lot too for remote access to their computers. And then new exploits in the mobile market. And when we're talking about mobile, we're talking about your cell phones, mobile devices, iPads, stuff like that. When like back in the old days, like I remember if you remember like the flip phones, little Nokias that we used to have. Back in those days, your phone just did that. It was a phone. That's all it did. Now you walk around with, seriously, a computer in your pocket. It has so much data and information. And just like, you heard like Facebook was like, we're missing the mobile market. We have to get into mobile. Now hackers are like, we're missing the mobile market. There's so much information to be mined from mobile computers and from mobile phones. So you're going to notice, if you haven't already, that there's a huge upswing in the growth of viruses that are written to infect mobile phones and get information. Now, the biggest problem with that is how to protect against it, because even though they have antiviruses for your phones, a lot of them aren't vetted. Some of them slow your phone down, and some of them can also screw up your operating system. It's a real problem for 2017. And of course, there's always problems when we're talking about devices like laptops that are that have sensitive information on them that may leave your business. If that device is lost or stolen, then you actually may have violated a Pennsylvania data breach law and not even realized it. So you really have to make sure that you're doing things like either encrypting those devices or that information is not stored on the device itself.
Right.
Spam is another way that you're getting infected nowadays. Spam actually does two things. It really decreases employee productivity because people have to sift through it. And then also it's actually, the source of many huge breaches because people get pieces of email that are just not legitimate, and they think that they are, and then they give out information that that can compromise business. I actually have a really good story. A friend of mine called me. He owns a grocery chain in our area. He was really frantic. He said, "Leia, I don't know what to do. My bank just called me and asked me if I authorized this wire transfer." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Somebody has been emailing my bank from my email account, my corporate email account, and told them to wire." And they got my my company's letterhead. They found my signature. They put everything together, and they've been communicating to my bank through my email account. They hacked my email, and they were about to wire $12,000 to an account. And luckily, the bank manager knew me and called me personally just to double check because he thought it sounded weird. What do I have to do? At this point, I said, okay, well, you got to change your password on your email and make sure that all of your passwords are secure and not insecure. But, you know, call your vendors and any other banks that you bank with and let them know that things have been compromised, because now he has a lot. I mean, he was in the email. He has all the information that was in that email. I mean, how much, Peter, do you also tell your clients and people about how insecure email is in general?
Absolutely. We spend a lot of time on it. You know that much of the business that I do is in the medical community, and we push that very often. You know, basically, free email. There should be no expectation of privacy when it comes to free email. Period. All the major vendors, Google, Yahoo, whomever, make no bones about the fact that email is analyzed for them to be able to present to you pertinent information relative to the kinds of things that you're talking about. And by the way, let's just go back for a minute to social engineering earlier, somebody hacking into a Facebook account. People are not hacking into your Facebook account because they want to post wacky things on your site. They're getting information from that Facebook account, your kids' names, a recent trip that you took, a maiden name, whatever it happens to be. Now, all of a sudden, the email that goes to the bank that says we just got back from vacation at such and such, and the three kids' names, and you're adding validity to this scam and increasing the success rate of it, you know, increasing the percentage of the success of that scam that's happening. These are the reasons that would happen or could happen.
Yes, absolutely. So, the top cybersecurity trends that we want to guard against this year. Android operating systems are being exploited even more this year. Last year, we saw an uptick in the viruses that we were finding on the iOS, that's the Apple iPhones. The Internet of Things we're seeing hacks in. That's, you know, like the smart houses, like everything, you know, whether it's the alarm system or the environmental controls, the smart systems in cars, any of those things that have an IP address, we're seeing that being hacked, and it's going to continue to proliferate this year. Small, medium-sized businesses becoming a bigger target. More of the, they call it spearhead phishing for information and the wire transfers, like the story that I just told about the grocery chain owner. Ransomware is going to continue to rise. Better social engineering, and then we'll see more exploit kits continue to dominate the web. So how do you protect yourself, right? The reason why you guys are here, you want to know, how do we protect ourselves? So first thing is that I don't want you to rush out of here and say, here's my money, take my money, make me secure. You got to make sure that you have a strategy, a really smart strategy, so you put your money in the right place to get the best bang for your buck. Demand and to understand how the business partners that you have and the vendors that we talked about, your supply chain, your vendors, your CPA, your bookkeeper, your IT people, what is their security policy? How are they securing their networks? Because you've got a trust relationship there, and you have to make sure that those people are secure. They meet or exceed your own internal security policies and practices. Remember we talked about how, there are some antiviruses for your phones, but they're not real good. It's a problem. It's slow moves in mobile device security, and is really going to be an issue this year as that gets more proliferated this year. Failing to assess for threats. So just, your fingers are in your ears and you're saying it doesn't really exist. And it takes a good team to beat a crook. You don't just, hire an IT firm and then abdicate that. It's an active back and forth to make sure that we are making companies more secure, the most secure that we possibly can. Be wary of suspicious employee behavior. Being just a little paranoid is good. And train your employees. Help them to understand how to properly be trained to keep your network secure. Let's leave you with some tips. So if you're interested in something very detailed and the nitty-gritty on what the government and what our national security organizations takes as a framework for security, then you can go to the NIST website, NIST, and you're going to see the cybersecurity framework, which is to identify these 5 functions. Identify what needs to be protected, protect it, detect it, respond to threats, and then recover from them. Now, your circle of protection, to protect you and your business, you must have all of these security protections in place at a minimum to be able to be properly ready for a cyber attack. Because like we talked about, Peter, it's not when, no, it's not if, it's
right. It's when.
When. Right. So everyone needs antivirus and not free consumer antivirus, right? Everybody needs a spam filter. You need a web filter. You need to make sure your firewall is managed and properly locked down. You need to have internal cybersecurity policies. You need to make sure your employees are properly trained. You need the right kind of backup that works and that, not just like set it and forget it, kind of that somebody's monitoring. And you need cyber liability insurance. Now, my company and Peter's company can do all of these things except for cyber liability insurance. You really need to talk to your insurance carrier about that. As Peter had talked about before, these are the things that you do here to help protect you in the case that you don't get hacked. And cyber liability is what makes you whole when you do get hacked. So why do you need cyber liability insurance? Because if you have any of these things on your network, your business is liable. So you have to make sure that you have that coverage in place. Talk to your insurance provider. All business insurance providers offer cyber liability insurance nowadays. The cost of a breach is very, very expensive. Cleaning the infection takes a long time, and it costs a lot of money for me to come in and clean off an infection. Your computers are down during that time, or your servers, depending on how bad the infection is. So that means you're losing money. Your intellectual property is now stolen. And especially with what Peter does, because you work a lot with medical practices, right?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
So,
go ahead.
No, you know a lot more about that. We don't serve as many medical practices as you do.
Yeah, it's very big. So in the case of a medical practice that has a breach of more than 500 patient records, their full population of patients for the history of the practice would have to be contacted. There's all sorts of things they have to do. This could come up to $149 a record is here. I've actually seen estimates higher, about $160 or $165 a record. But to give you an idea, one of our oldest clients is an OBGYN practice with about a patient database of 30,000. So if you do the math, wow, 30,000 times 165 is a huge number. Now that's just what's required for notification that they had a breach. Forget about the loss of trust and patients moving to other practices because now they have a trust issue. So yeah, this is very, very big. Those are the kinds of things that a cyber liability policy would help with to defray some or all of those costs depending upon the size of the breach.
We've been very lucky at InTech Solutions because all of our clients, you know, are required to have that circle of protection in order for us to serve them because we know how important that is. We've never had a breach for any of our clients, knock on wood, because we protect our clients really well. But I just couldn't imagine a business having to go through something like that. That would just be crippling, completely crippling. So let's leave you guys with some tips and tricks you can use right away. So tip number 1, back up your data. Run a minimum of daily backups. You need offsite backups. You need to make sure that you've tested your backups, and you need to make sure that it's saved all of it is saved, not just parts of your data are backed up. Best practice that we recommend is full image, backed up every 15 minutes, backed up on-site and replicated to the cloud, and monitored 24/7. And then we recommend test restores monthly to make sure that everything is functional and that it can be restored. That is actually the service that we provide to our clients. They get that with our services. And I love this little Post-it note over here. One of my friends, actually it's one of our mutual friends, Charles, sent that to me. He said that this laptop walked in and the gentleman had this little sticky note on the laptop. Please be careful. I have 231 gigabytes of very important and valuable data on this hard drive. Thanks a lot. And then,
so now it's safe because the note was there.
Yes, that's right.
Right. Prior to the note, it wasn't safe.
Right. Correct. So better banking practices. So have different accounts that you use for things like payroll, taxes, operating. So if one account is compromised, they don't wipe out everything. Use different credit cards and that are associated with different accounts. Like at our organization, I have one bank card that's associated with our operating account that I'll purchase a lot of equipment with, and then another one for the other accounts, so that if that's compromised, that we can shut that off and then we're safe. And then all banks now allow you to do things like alerting and reporting, so that if a certain amount of money disappears from the account, if you drop below a certain threshold, that you get alerts. Everybody needs to turn those on if you don't have them on all of your accounts. Next tip is to talk to your insurer. So make sure that you have your property, casualty, and cyber liability coverage in place right now. Once you've had a breach, it's too late to get insurance. Your regular business insurance won't cover things like data loss, data breach, if you get like crypto wall or ransomware or business interruption. Oops, sorry. Tip number 4 was use a strong password. And Peter, did you want to speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, this is extremely important. There are very common passwords that are used that many people, I don't know why, but they use them because I do know why, they're easy to use. General population has to know that if a hacker wants to hack into a computer or a device or a web server, they can do what's called a brute force attack. And depending upon how complex the password is, they could find your password instantaneously up to, a minute or an hour or a couple of days. It's not when, it's not if they will find the password and be able to break in, it's when. So the more complex a password is, the better you are, and the perpetrator will leave and go somewhere else. They're not going to just continue to try to break in. And here's, the top 20 passwords. This has been a list, Leia, for the past few years, as I recall. Right? People still using these.
Some of them change. Like so every year I pull this list and I show everyone what they are. What kills me, Peter, what kills me is like that first column there on the left-hand side, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, you got to be kidding me! Who's still using that, right? And password. Who's still using password?
Yeah. Well, just a few years ago, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was a big one. So someone got very creative and put a 9 in there, because no one would ever think of putting a 9 at the end of that string. Generally this list of passwords. Generally this list of passwords from an automated device can probably be broken in, I don't know the number, but I'll say it's 5 minutes or less. And it's probably even less than that. The point is that you need a secure password. You need to protect yourself. You need to be responsible. You shouldn't be using the same password on all sites. If I have broken into your Facebook account, I have your username and your password, and I know that you have an Instagram account. Why wouldn't I try the same credentials? Or a bank account?
Yeah, exactly. Bank account, your Windows password at work. I mean, that's when we talked about earlier, those scary statistics about the 62% of people who use the same password everywhere. That's why it's so scary, because if they happen to break into your Facebook, then they use that same password and they can hack into your VPN and get into your network that way. They can go and get into your computer at work. They can hack into your bank account just using the same password that they found on Facebook.
Correct.
All right. Number 5, upgrade your security. Now, although there are some things here that you could probably just go back to the office and do yourself, like making sure that you have current antivirus, making sure you're running your Windows updates and you're updating Java and things like that on your phone, making sure that your iPhones, iPads have a password lock on them, and creating an acceptable use policy for business technology. You really should talk to your IT solutions provider about this to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to, because they should be experts in these things, to give you the right consultation and advice in these areas, as well as being able to assess if what you have is good enough or if you have to make some changes. And then, guys, like common sense, train your staff on social engineering. That I got this invoice email that I told you about earlier. Just in the last 8 weeks, I've had probably 10 people talk to me about those emails that they've gotten about, I got an invoice. What is this? And most of my customers are trained really, really well, so they will call, or they will forward us the email and they say, is this legit? Which I appreciate. They think they're bothering me. I'm happy. Ask me if it's legit. Don't open it up and get your computer infected,
Yeah. That's an interesting point, especially when it comes to training, employee training. I mean, we have it. I have almost fallen victim to getting an email from Amazon or FedEx saying that my package has been delayed. Please click here to check the status. Now, I know that they're not going to say, dear Amazon user, but I know that I'm expecting something. I'm ready to click that link and put my information in. Training is huge. Awareness is king, because computers are only as smart as the users that are sitting behind them, and they don't think for themselves. So you do have to be mindful, and again, responsible with usage and functionality.
Absolutely. And be smart about things when you're traveling. I have lots of clients who travel internationally and around the country. They've got sales forces. They have, people that go to conferences. You be careful about the wireless, networks that you connect to. Be careful to secure your mobile devices. Like in this picture, we see these two computers and nobody's there, and they're right next to a door. Someone could just like walk past, grab both of those devices, and walk out the door, and nobody would even be any of the wiser until they realized they were gone. So all I needed back in the 90s: basic firewall, antivirus, some take backups, and the Macarena, right? Hi. All right, sorry. I laughed about that one. Oops. But today you need, let's go back one. Today you need more than that. These are the 3 steps you need to protect your organization. First, we need to assess your network to see how secure, where are the threats. 2, you need an action plan for remediation, making sure that any of those areas that you miss, that you need to tighten up, this is how we're going to fix it. And 3, you need ongoing monitoring, maintenance, and consultation, because as these threats change over time, you have to make sure that you're responding properly to those changes in the threat landscape. It's not a set it and forget it approach, because your attackers keep changing and keep getting better at what they do, and so we have to keep getting better at what we do. So what's next on your security agenda? Get a network security audit. Now, I'm offering to everyone on this call a network security audit at deeply discounted rates. In fact, I'm offering 75% discount until Friday, February 24th. This 75% discount, this is not even going to pay for my time, but it's really important to me that you have something, you've taken the time to stay on this call with us. You're really concerned about your security, so I want to be able to give you something that you can really have actionable items of what to do. So if you email me or call me, my technology concierge will schedule an on-site pre-audit meeting, and then we will do the assessment of your network. I will discuss the findings of our audit, and then I'll give you recommendations. Now, usually our published prices, which I have here, you can go to my website if you don't believe me. This is how much we charge for these network security audits. Now, 75% off, we're talking about so cheap, it's a no-brainer to just get another pair of eyes, a fresh pair of eyes on your network to say, where are my holes? How can I plug them? But because this is so cheap, and obviously I can't do this for a lot of people, I'm only going to do it for up to 10 companies, and only until you can just say, yes, I want this until February 24th, and this offer goes away. Also, because you hung on to the end, everyone that's on the call today is going to get a free mobile device policy template. So you can customize that for your business for free, and then you can have something in writing where your employees start to get trained on what they should do with this mobile computer that they're walking around in their pocket. And what happens next? One of 2 things. First, I give you the plan. You'll love the plan, but you decide to implement it on your own. And if that's the case, wish the best of luck, keep in touch, and let us know how you're doing. That's fine. I want you to be secure. The second thing that might happen is that you love the plan and ask me to get you protected ASAP. And if that's the case, I promise I will knock it out of the park for you. Double bonus. So you want to protect everyone in your organization. InTech also has free weekly cybersecurity tips to help keep you secure in your business, and also your employees secure with their personal stuff. So if you go to intechit.net/cyber tips, you can sign up for our weekly security tips. It's absolutely free. But you have to act fast, guys. The network security audit at the deep discount, and I mean deep discount, is only available until Friday, February 24th. It is by application only. I want to make sure that I can actually help you before we book the network security audit. So if you're a corporation and you've got 1,000 employees, that is outside of our wheelhouse. if you are a solo entrepreneur and you only have one computer, a lot of what I'm going to present to you is probably not going to make a lot of sense. I would love to talk to you on the phone. I can give you some great resources, but I want to make sure that, this is for a certain audience, and I want to make sure that I can actually help you, and the time that we spend is going to make sense for your company and for me. So I wanted to thank you for spending the time with us today to learn more about how to keep yourself secure and the threats that are coming up here in 2017 and what we saw in 2016. Peter, I really wanted to thank you for being on the call with us today and for all of your insights and the information that you provided. Your perspective is really insightful.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And just to add one thing, this landscape does change pretty regularly, and the face of our adversaries also changes. Those are some fantastic deals that you're offering out there. I would totally take advantage of an audit just to see where you're at currently, because it isn't where you were 6 months ago or a year ago. The landscape has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Peter. Have a great day.
You're welcome.